Yo, what's good, everyone? This is C. Hendo back once again. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe button. Now, today I have special guest Jamal Crawford, NBA veteran, 20 years in the game plus, and we're going to talk hoops, music, and we're going to talk about this. If you haven't done it, go do it. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and remember, we're always working. All right, everybody. Jamal Crawford is in the building. How you doing, Jamal?
My dog, I'm good. How you doing?
Man, blessed. Great to have you on. So before we get started, man, it's so fun to always talk to you. Me and you have like done interviews for years. Like
Yeah.
I could just go down the many pictures that we got, man. I always appreciate you for always taking your time out to come on my platform and just kick it with me, man. So I appreciate that.
Nah, man, I'm always excited to see you. I know when I get to Dallas, I'm gonna see you. You've been holding it down
Yeah.
for so long, you know what I mean? And I think you just been consistent, bro, and just thorough. You know what I mean? You do your homework, you do your research. So, like you said, we've had conversations before, but this one's a little different. So I'm excited to be on.
Man, this is perfect. So, I always talk to you about hoops and stuff, but I never got a chance to ask you this. What made you want to play basketball?
That's a great question, bro. Excuse me. So my dad played. A lot of people don't know that. My dad played at the University of Oregon, and he actually played with Kevin Love's dad. You know, so I've been around basketball my whole life. I had basketball. I got pictures. I'm like 2 years old with a basketball in my hand. You know, so I've just always been around it. And he was the first one to introduce me to the game. And I just fell in love with it. You know, and for me, it just like, it became like second nature. You know, like as I got older, as far as like 8, 9, 10 years old, I started playing other sports. I played my first basketball team, my first football team, my first baseball team. But basketball is the one I just stuck with, and it stuck with me.
Man, dope. So obviously when we talk basketball, we talk New York, LA, Chicago, Detroit.
Yeah.
But Seattle, the basketball scene is crazy there. Can you talk about Seattle basketball?
It's a hub now. It's crazy because more people are starting to like learn about it. You know what I mean? But it's been around forever. It's been some talented dudes way before me. James Edwards, Clint Richardson, the legend Doug Christie, John Stockton's from out in Spokane, Washington. So it's been great players, but I don't think we really came on the scene until AAU circuit kicked off. Because that's when we were able to kind of go out and travel, and that's when college coaches and people start seeing that Seattle had talent. And there was a lot of guys before myself that were really, really good. Like in high school, they just didn't get the exposure. You know, so then Doug Green kind of kicked it off by going to one of the first like major AAU teams and made noise, and then people started kind of checking for us. I went out on this AAU circuit the next year in Vegas and in California and all those tournaments and kind of blew up. And then after that, the door just went open. It went crazy. You know what I mean? To see the Brandon Roys, the Nate Robinsons, the Terrence Williams, the Kevin Porter's, DeJounte Murray's, Aaron Brooks, like Stuckey's, Isaiah's, like Zach LaVine, like all this talent in right here in the city. You know what I mean? And so I think people are learning more about it. I'm excited about that.
Man, so speaking of Seattle basketball, behind me on my TV, I love watching this highlight tape from the crossover. Your summer tournament. Now, obviously with COVID, you didn't get a chance probably to do it this summer. And of course you were in the bubble situation, obviously, but can you talk about that, man, when you're able to get guys to come out to that event and you know how that always goes down?
Yeah, for me, to be honest with you, it means everything, bro, because I actually grew up in it. So when I was 16 years old, I started playing in it. Doug Christie kind of mentored me and said I could play on his team. The first 4 games, I may have scored 8 points because I was nervous playing against grown men and pros. And then Doug rolled his ankle, and the coach was like, I just want you to go. Just go. And here I am, 16 years old. I averaged 30 the rest of the way. I made the All-Star game, bro, and it just took off. But playing against Doug, playing with Doug, playing against Sean Kemp, playing against Nika Darray, playing against Damon Stoudemire, Cliff Robinson, at that young age, like really gave me a whole different confidence. So when I go back to high school, I'm playing against pros already. You know what I mean? And so that kind of set the tone. So fast forward, Doug started getting later in his career. He kind of passed it on to me. He felt like I was the perfect person, having grown up in it. And we just nurtured it, took care of it, try to, continue to push it. We got on video games now, but the kids in the community make it what it is. I say that to them every summer. because now we don't have the Sonics. Like that's who I grew up watching: Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Nate McMillan, Detlef Schrempf, all those guys. But we don't have that. So right now, the pro-am is the closest these kids get to see pros. Besides on TV, online, whatever it might be. And so I asked the kids what they want to see, and so we've had Kobe, KD, Kyrie, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, John Wall, Marcus Aldridge, Tyreek Evans. We've had so many people come, and Paul George, it's just so many people, but these are who the kids want to see. And so I hate asking anybody for anything, but for the kids, I'm going to go ask these players, and I'll do it, and the players usually say yeah, so it's a really cool thing.
Man, that's so dope. So the Supersonics, obviously, for NBA fans like myself, that's like history. Like you said, Sean Kemp's of the world, Gary Payton, Dale Ellis, Hersey Hawkins. The list goes on of great Seattle. How important would it be to have the Sonics back in Seattle?
It would mean everything. It would mean everything, see, because I know what it did for me. Like, it got to a point where Gary Payton and Sean Kemp were coming to my high school games. And the fuel it gave me and the confidence it gave me to have them there. And I used to go to their games. I used to actually work at their arena. And I was the guy who was bringing up, like, snacks to the concession stands. And so when I would bring it up, I would actually stay and watch the whole game. You know what I mean? So that 10-minute trip turned into a 30-minute trip. And it allowed me to dream, and I'm hoping the kids get a chance to experience that again. And I know what it did for me, and hopefully it changed their life as well.
Well, when I look at Seattle right now, I see this Seattle Storm. I mean, you talking about a basketball dynasty, Sue Bird, Breonna Stewart.
Right.
Lord, I mean, they got some hoopers over there. Can you talk about that, man, and how important the W is, man? Because I know you're just a fan of basketball, and you show a lot of praise to those ladies over there.
For sure. Well, I have a younger son who plays, locally in the AAU scene, and so I'm always in the gym, and I get a chance to see the young ladies coming up, the young women, and it's amazing because you can see the Storm's direct effect on them, right? When they're saying Sue Bird, they're saying Breonna Stewart, they're saying Jewel Lloyd, they're saying Clark, they're saying all these players because that's who they're watching, and the effect they have on them. I mean, it's direct, and that's how it was with us coming up with the Sonics. Ask Jason Terry, ask myself, ask Pete Roy, ask Nate Robinson, ask all these guys, because the Sonics had that effect on us. And it's cool to see the Storm have that same effect. And they're really good. They're the best in the world, so it's inspiration, and that's all you can really ask for.
Okay. So, one thing I always want to tell you this as well, pregame you work out. I think it's a crazy workout, man, because it's like you go through a full scrimmage before you even get to the game. I always sit courtside and watch you. And one thing that obviously you're most known for is your ability to handle the rock. Right. Now, the infamous crossover that we all call the shake and bake, was that something that you named that crossover, or did someone name that, or where did it come from?
So for me, my mom would tell you. Can I show you something right now? Actually, can I show you something?
Yeah, sure.
I'm in the barbershop at my house, and right now, on the wall.
Okay.
So I have a bunch of pictures of people that inspired me while I was growing up. You know what I mean? Okay. And so I said that to say this. On my wall, I had 35 pictures of Allen Iverson. Like when I was growing up,
wow.
I would tell you, like I literally cut out 35 pictures of him in magazines. And so, like the inspiration of him, he was the inspiration of my crossover. I used to try to do his crossover, and I couldn't master it. So I was like, and everybody started catching on, like, oh, okay, Iverson's the left to right crossover. Well, I'm like, well, how can I do something different without it getting stolen? So that's when I started doing stuff behind the back. I'm like, okay, that'd be even harder for them to reach and get. So I started doing stuff behind the back. And so I just try to master that, and I just, stay with the ball. But Mike Breen was actually the first person to name the double behind the back, the shake and bake. So shout out to Mike Breen for that.
Man, so like people ask me all the time, name my top 5 ball handlers all the time. And of course, I say you, Kyrie Irving, Isaiah Thomas, Allen Iverson, and Jason Williams. Those are my 5.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular 5, or is there anybody that comes to mind for you?
Man, the 5 you said, I can't really argue, to be honest with you. And I would say those same 5. but I would probably take myself out just for the sake of fairness. But it's your list, so you can say your list. But for my list, I would do the same 4, and I probably put CP and Steph in there.
Ooh. Yeah.
Those
CP.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
CP.
CP and
Yeah,
Steph.
CP is very underrated.
Oh, he's
Very
serious.
underrated.
He's unbelievable. So I would put CP and Steph, and then like you got to show homage and pay homage to guys like Rod Strickland, guys like Nick Van Exel, Baron Davis, Steve Francis. You know, D. Will had a crazy handle. You know, so I'm just such a student of the game, bro. Like I've watched and everybody. Skip to my Lou. You got to give him his props too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, the great Ray Paulson.
So many dudes who, you know, could really just handle the ball and allow you to dream. You know what I mean? Like just get so creative and allow you to dream.
Man, so like I said, behind me, I love watching highlights of you, and I always want to ask you this as well. Is there a particular crossover for me? I'm gonna tell you off the bat. My favorite there's 2 of them that come to mind. And one of them is a good friend of mine. You did one at Chauncey Billups one time, man. It was crazy. Like you caught Chauncey in the whirlwind, man. Like you went behind your back, then you went between your legs, you did it so fast, and he was just like everywhere. And then of course the Ray Allen crossover. That one right there when Ray was in Boston. Like to me, that was like, all right, this is something serious. But is there a particular crossover highlight that you kind of like cherish to yourself that like, man, that's one of my favorite ones?
You know which one I'll say, and I'm not trying to put him on the spot because it's my guy. I would say the Kirk Heinrich one, to be honest with you.
Oh my God, yeah.
Only because I've never practiced that before. You know what I mean? Like I play off instinct anyway, but that one, I knew we had played together. I didn't know what I was going to do, so I was going to do the double behind the back. I'm like, nah, Kirk knows that, and I'm thinking all these things literally right there as I'm coming down court. So I'm like, all right, you got to do something, and I just did it and went over his head instinctively. And so that's why you've never seen that one again, because I had never done that before. You know, so that's my favorite one, I think. I think for right now, today, you know, in October, that's my favorite one.
And that was I think that was on the fast break, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
It was in Chicago.
It was
my first time back in Chicago playing against the Bulls, so it has some meaning to it for sure.
Wow. So obviously you played against some great defenders.
Yeah.
Who was one of the toughest guys that you had to go against, like for his defense?
Tony Allen.
Tony, man. One time for Tony.
And you know what? There's good ones. Bruce Bowen, Doug Christie, obviously. Quincy Pondexter's an underrated one.
Yes.
You know, Garrett Temple's an underrated one. But I would say Tony gave me the toughest challenge because him getting a stop was like scoring how offensive players thrive when they score. And he took such a challenge and he just made you think about where he was. And that's the worst thing an offensive player can do is think. You know, so he made you think, okay, you can't do this move. He's already won if you're thinking that much. You know what I mean? So I would say Tony Allen for sure is the hardest defender I've won against.
Man, that's great. So obviously you've been in the league for a long time, and that's like, to me, that's a major accomplishment because like it's just the everyday grind, having to travel. And I know for you, you're a big family man. I know that plays a part into it as well, and you're able to still commit to that at a high level. You know, I can't imagine. You know, I wake up sometimes when I do my job, and I'm like, man, it's been 10 years, man. This is it's a long day, man. But for you, it's like it's a consistent thing. What is to have that drive? How is it to have that actual drive just to continue to want to do this?
Yeah, I love basketball before I loved anything else. Before I even had friends, it was just me and my ball. You know what I mean? So I've always been loyal to that and faithful to that. And the love of the game is all that pushed me, to be honest with you. Like, I just got finished playing today with some friends of mine. You know, so for me, it's like the love of the game. It just keeps calling me. And I feel like I owe basketball everything, to be honest with you. Like, basketball provided so many different things, but more than anything, and probably the coolest thing is the platform to be able to reach kids. You know, they listen to you a little differently when you play professionally because that's their dreams. You know what I mean? So for me, that's probably the coolest thing about it. And I just love the game, bro. And I love everything that comes with it. Having a foam roll, having to do cold tubs, having to get massages, having to stretch, having to stay in shape. Like, I just love everything that comes with it. I love the journey of it, you know. And so even when I retire, whenever that is, I'm always be around the game.
Man, you know, and you're in a rare class because, you know, I look at guys like Dirk, Tim Duncan, Vince Carter, you know, several guys, Kareem, where you guys are fairly consistent throughout your career. Like you know, there's never been a drop off. Like, man, obviously your career, I want to say that's your career high, close to your career high was in Dallas, you know, Dirk's last game. And, you know, I was sitting there next to a lot of basketball fans. I actually sat in the crowd for that game, and one guy looked and said, "Man, I remember seeing Jamal Crawford do this back in 2003, 2004. This is insane."
Yeah.
And that's a major accomplishment. So I want to salute you for that. But I want to talk about one player in particular because this guy's still doing it. LeBron James. When you look at LeBron in year 17, do what he's doing as an opponent, as a person that's in the game with him, a student of the game, what do you think about that?
LeBron's a gift, man. And like, just think about like the expectations that was on him to start his career. Like chosen one, cover of Sports Illustrated, high school games on ESPN, like, and he surpassed everything that was put on. Like that in itself, and he didn't go crazy in the process. I think that part's underrated. You don't hear about LeBron out there. He's a funny man. He's doing everything in his community. He's touching communities all over the country. And in his greatness, like his drive to be great, he's, been this great for almost 2 decades. Like that's unheard of. You know what I mean? At this level, you've seen so many people come and go. And to sustain that kind of excellence is like one of a kind. You may never see that again. So we all should appreciate it and understand what we're watching.
Man, that's amazing. And when you look at this league, it's just, to me, like basketball. And for me, like obviously growing up in the 90s and the late 80s, I had an opportunity to see Michael Jordan, see some of the greatest players that we've ever seen. But for me now, watching as a adult, I don't know if the league has ever been in a great place when it comes to young talent like it is now. So, like, I'm going to name some guys for you, and I want to get your personal opinion on these guys. Okay. So let's start out with the guy in Dallas, Luka Doncic.
Special. Unbelievable. His even some of the great players, right? The feel he has for the game is like, it's uncanny. It's a feel thing, and it's not something you can actually teach. The feel, you can teach how to play the game, you can teach what it's supposed to look like, things you're supposed to do on the court, but his feel, you can't teach. And that's what makes him special. He's one of my favorites to watch.
Another guy that comes to mind, and I look at him as a showman. Like, he has showmanship like you. And just with his crossovers, his ability to make the ooh-ah plays, Trae Young. What do you think about Trae?
I love watching Trae play. He plays with that chip on his shoulder. The way he shoots the ball, the way he can pass the ball, the way he sees the game, the way he sees the floor. And look at what Trae comments to certain people and certain things. Like, Trae is driven. He's not just driven to average almost 30 points. And, he wants to get to the playoffs. He wants to be known as a winner and one of the greats. And he's driven and he's working towards that. So Trae is another young one who's special. Atlanta got a good one. It won't be long before they're in the playoffs and he's making noise.
Man, so a couple of guys that came up in the bubble, man, that I thought that, like, they kind of put themselves out there. Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell. When you see those two, because like Jamal Murray, for the most part, you could say he's a potential all-star, but I think in this bubble, we saw him morph into a whole nother stratosphere. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, he took that. Some people take that step. He took 2 steps because he did it. Wow. He took the step, he took another step in the playoffs, right? He was one of the most, not only talked about, but he was one of the best players when it came down to it. Like, he just had this never say die attitude. He found a way to will his team to win, to inspire them to, just be a dog at all times, right? Whatever his team needed. And that was his stage, and the message he said, even after when it was his moment, how he made it about other people and the injustice going on around the world, like, he's a star. There's no question about it. He's a star, and he will continue to take those levels and continue to get better.
And now I'm going to ask you about a couple of guys that are obviously established superstars.
Okay.
But this guy here, to me, Michael Jordan, I always thought was the greatest offensive player I've ever seen in my life. When it came to just scoring, how smooth it was. But then I didn't know there was going to be a guy that was going to be literally 7 foot tall that can handle the rock and do everything. And you know who I'm talking about, Kevin Durant.
Oh, man.
How do you even guard that?
Kevin's a creative player. We literally created him. I didn't, of course. But I'm saying, like, when I say we, I mean we created him as if when we were playing video games back in the day, right? You could put a 7-footer who could shoot threes, who could handle the ball like a guard, who could jump like, athletic small forward. Like, he was created. He was born to play basketball. And He's a treat to watch. He's a treat to play. He's already one of the greatest to ever play. He's such a student of the game too. His humility, how humble he is, how he's driven to get better. Like, I watch his highlights and watch old games and watch. He's just a treat to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a treat to watch play basketball. It's almost like an
Yeah.
artist, right? And so I'm so excited to see how he comes this year because I know what it's going to be. I know the work he's putting in. I can't wait to see him. Like, he's one of the more special talents and players that's ever touched the basketball.
I agree with you. Now, when you look at the league, is there anybody that when you look at them, it's like you see young Jamal?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure there's just like one player. I think there's like a mix, or like Cherished LeVert. I could see myself.
Oh man,
right? You know what I mean? Like, I had a bird's eye view watching him. That's like the first name that jumps out at me. How he carries himself, how curious he is, how driven he is. I think he's one that stands out to me as far as like where I look. I'm like, man, that's kind of how it was growing up and being a young dude in the NBA. So I can see him being that for sure.
Man, dope. So I gotta ask you this, man. And this is the last basketball question. When you obviously we don't like to do the greatest of all time thing, but
right
in perspective, like obviously Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, LeBron James are usually the top three. But if you can, and there's one other guy that comes to mind. 2020 was a rough year for us, for the most part, and Kobe Bryant. You've had some battles versus Kobe Bryant, the late great Kobe Bryant, and for me as a media person, I tell people all the time, I've never been intimidated by any player. I have met Michael Jordan. I have met all kind of players and talked to them.
Right.
And I talked to them like we're homeboys and everything. But when I met Kobe Bryant, it just was a different energy. And Kobe's the nicest guy that I could have probably ever, met, in my life. But, Kobe, what did Kobe mean to you, man? Because, like, for me, the excellence, like, now I go back and just, I felt like as media, I felt like we didn't appreciate him enough.
Yeah.
And I felt like as a basketball community, maybe we didn't appreciate him enough because obviously the circumstance was that he came right after MJ. And it was kind of like, we wanted another MJ and we tried so hard not to make him that, even though he was literally the carbon copy, if not better in certain things. But what did Kobe mean to you?
Kobe, okay, so to preface this, I played against Michael Jordan, but I played against him when he was with the Wizards. So obviously Michael Jordan to me is the best player. He's my favorite player. So let's put that out there. But Kobe was the best basketball player I ever played against. Because I saw him in his prime.
Wow.
I saw him, Like, I saw him, the fear he put in not only teams, but arenas. And like you said, that aura. He could be in a room full of stars and Kobe would stand out like a whole different aura. So for me, Kobe meant everything. I remember just like communicating when we started really like talking a lot more his last few years in the league and just learning from him, talking to him, that I can honestly say, like, I gave him his flowers because I always said, like, he came to my prom. If you go back and look, when I introduced him, I said, he's this generation's Michael Jordan. And I remember then that some, I ain't gonna say the names, but certain websites and sites were like, is he this generation's Michael Jordan? I'm like, how y'all doubting this man? Y'all forget. Like, he's one of one. So his mentality, his work ethic, how driven he was, his talent, his skill level, like, so for me, he's the best player I've played against. But like, I have him I have my top five. I ain't gonna put in order, but to me, he's top 2 or 3 players ever played basketball. Period.
Yeah. I think from a skill point, I don't even know if there's even 3 guys I could put over him skill-wise. And for me, every person I've talked to, he is a nightmare matchup because it's a psyche thing. It's a psyche thing.
See, he was trying to take your heart out when he played against you. So, like, if you didn't come with it, that was going to be 50. That was going to be 60. That was going to be 45 in a game. Like, he was that cutthroat when it came to being a basketball player. But he was just as giving off the court. If he let you in, you got a chance to know him.
Yeah. There's a lot of players that don't, like, when you talk about that mentality, Michael Jordan, I think, Zeke, Isaiah Thomas, those just had a killer mentality. Like, it was like, they were so possessed to like it was unfair. But man, you know, rest in peace to the legendary Kobe
Yeah.
Bryant. Now,
Rest in peace to
before we
Kobe
get
and his
man,
family.
rest in peace to Kobe, man.
And
Now, before we
yeah.
get into music, one thing that you are really empowering about is like everything that's going on with the police brutality
For
and
sure.
voting. You make that a big emphasis. Can you tell the community why it's important to vote and get out there and vote?
It's so important because we have to have change, and it starts locally. When I say vote, it's not always the presidential or national scale. It's right there in your communities. That's where the difference is made. So you got to do your research and know and try to get the people on, you know, at the table, the people in those seats to make a change, the change you want to see. You know, so a lot of times we all talk about it and talk about what's going on, but we don't take the actions of voting, of doing things about it, like legally and to really affect change. And I think that's why voting is so important. And we have to do that. That's our power. We have power to, and everybody says, oh, my vote doesn't count. Yes, it does. Every vote counts. You know what I mean? So it's like we have power to make change. We can't complain about it and not go vote. So we have to do that.
Man, dope. And like I said, I commend you for always speaking up. You know, I see your tweets and everything. You retweet a lot of things that are important to the community, man. So I salute you for that as well.
Thanks, Steve.
Man, so music.
Yeah.
Man, you know, me and you talked music before, and we've had our little discussions about who the greatest rapper of all time is. And we're going to have some fun today because I have a hip hop trivia card game called Got Bars. It's not so much going to be trivia. It's not going to be trivia, but it's going to be more opinionated answers. This is a lyric trivia game, and I'm going to definitely send you out these cards, so you're gonna get some of these as well. Yeah.
You see, I got Tupac behind me. You know I got.
There you go. So I got to ask you a question before we get into that. Then, so what would be your favorite like Tupac album all time? Do you have a favorite album? I'm gonna say Me Against the World.
I was gonna say Me Against the World. It's between that and All
Okay.
Eyes on Me. I'll go Me Against the World.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Me Against the World. All right. There we go. All right. So let's have some fun here. These are your action cards. So we're gonna start the first one. This is gonna be. I'm going off the rip on this one. Jay-Z or Nas?
Man, I love both, but I'm more of a Jay-Z guy.
Okay. Well, speaking of Jay-Z, I need you to rank these 5 albums.
Okay.
444, which was his, last album, obviously. Reasonable Doubt, his first album. The First Blueprint, Volume 3, and the Black Album.
Reasonable Doubt.
That's number 1.
Black Album.
2.
Blueprint.
3.
444.
Okay.
And Volume 3.
Yeah, I think I would have went there right. Look, the Black Album has grown on me. I got the vinyl behind me, and the Black Album has grown on me more now than ever. And the Black Album is legendary. If Reasonable Doubt didn't exist, I would put the Black Album as number 1 album.
You know what? I switched my answer between Blueprint, Reasonable Doubt, and Black Album. That's like the whole real. So I kind of go in between those. But right now that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, the Reasonable Doubt, that's just, that's a cheat code. Like, it's just, I remember where I was at for all 3 of those albums. Like, what space I was at in my life and everything. So, Man, dope. All right. So, one must go between these 4. Drake, Meek Mill, J. Cole, Big Sean.
Oh.
This is tough.
This is tough. Drake, Meek Mill, J. Cole. Cole's not going nowhere.
Nah. I hate I had to do this.
You know what
I'm gonna help you out.
I'm gonna say who I listen to the least out of those is probably Meek, but it's not that he's the worst. I just don't hear his music as much as the other ones. So I'm gonna say Meek. No disrespect.
Okay. No. We all know because, like, honestly, I play this with a lot of different guys, and that question comes up. It's either between Meek and Big Sean. It's really tough.
Yeah.
And like now that Big Sean is sort of back making music now,
I've been listening to his last album, so
it's changed up a lot. All right, so this is gonna be an interesting one for you. Name the best female rapper ever, in your opinion.
You know who's grown on me a lot? and it may not be popular opinion, but to me, just hearing her bars, Rhapsody, she's
Raps.
so cold.
Look, man. Yeah. I can't think of an MC. Maybe, you know, MC like, you know, Lil Kim. We talking about rapping Foxy Brown
and
on that level,
her,
Queen
but
Latifah.
what's her content, what she's talking about, her message. Like
It's crazy.
I listen to the lyrics, like I'm going to rap.
Rhapsody, man. I don't disagree. All right, man. So before we get out of here, man, obviously quarantine's kind of keeping us indoors and keeping us in things. I know you're a family man. You got the kiddos and everything and the family. What's your hobbies, man? Because I know you got to keep everything sort of neutral grounded, right?
You know what I've been doing more of? Well, first off, my favorite show was The Chi, so I watched that the whole way.
Yes.
But I've been listening to more podcasts. Like I love listening to different people, different stories, you know, just hearing different things. So my wife's like a big movie watcher. So I watch movies she wants to watch at night, but I don't really watch too much TV, to be honest with you. It's usually a sport event. I've been watching a lot more CNN with all this stuff going on, obviously. But yeah, like I usually like The Chi I watch a lot, and the rest I'm on YouTube, to be honest with you. Old players,
watching highlights,
like different things.
Yeah, man. I remember I had to when you were going through this thing where you were telling people who to watch for today, and I remember I had to go watch. Like it was a couple of them, man. Like I was like, oh my god. Like I remember like I want to say it was either DeJuan Wagner you brought up one day, and I just remember when you said DeJuan Wagner, it was like I had to go bring up Steve Logan because Steve Logan, man, I love watching him when he was in college in Cincinnati. Then of course Rashard Phillips, man, is a name that you know nobody talks about in the basketball community enough.
Rashard,
and he's
like
easy.
That's my guy.
Yeah, the prototype. He was literally the prototype. Like if you could pull that guy up, man, and that's crazy that you do that. Just like me, like I love going on YouTube and stuff and doing that.
Not to cut you off, see, but I still do it. But at that time, like until George Floyd and that whole situation happened, I was tweeting out 5 new people to watch every night, and I got up to like 140 people. Then when that happened, I'm like, all right. So it kind of killed my vibe. Like my focus shifted. And I'm back on it, and I'm still watching people. I just haven't tweeted out. But all the time, I'm always learning, always talking, always watching, bro.
Man, and rest in peace.
That's right.
Yeah, rest in peace to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor.
George Floyd.
Man, rest in peace to everyone that's been through police brutality. Like you said, it was a rough time because, same thing with me. I was interviewing people left and right. When that happened, he was gone, and I didn't feel like it was just the right time. And man, like nothing is ever going to be normal again, I say, and I don't say that in a negative way, but I feel like, when we got some positivity, some things that we can look at with like sports can bring us together, man. So I just hope that, everybody gets out there and vote and just do what they need to do to make everything right. And that's the most important thing. Sure. All right, man. So before we get out of here, man, do you got anything that you want to plug in? Any charity news, anything in regards to you? Are we gonna get a Jamal? That's what we really need, a Jamal Crawford podcast. Are we gonna get that?
Hey, you never know. See, you never know. But you're a pro at it, man. You've been doing it for a while, so you've been at it. You've been doing your thing for a long time in the media, so much respect.
Man. Oh man, I enjoy you guys because at the end of the day, as I tell a lot of players, without you guys, there's no me. And when you guys give me an opportunity, I'm not ESPN, I'm not none of these big networks, but I go in every day with the same motivation. I try to make sure that we keep everything positive about you guys. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times
we feel that, and I think that's why the real always connect with you, bro. Like you ain't gotta be ESPN. You ESPN to us. You know what I mean? So we much respect, bro. We always gonna hold you down.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Just the years. Like I literally got about like 20 photos in this little folder, man, of me and you just like through the years. Like the craziest thing ever. I was like, man, just the conversations with you, man. But like, do you have anything that you want to plug in, man? Anything that you got going?
Myself, Deadlift Shrimp, Isaiah Thomas, Mr. Bill Russell, the legend. We're doing a campaign called Erase the Hate, where we're putting, we're matching dollars going in the communities near people all over the country, especially all this stuff going on, just to try to, get funds in the communities that need them, So that's the main thing I got going. I got other stuff going, but that's the main thing where it affects people, in communities all over the country, especially, Black and brown people. So that's probably the biggest thing I got going as far as, the social justice stuff for sure.
Man, everybody,
Social
once again,
injustice.
be sure to follow this guy on Twitter at @JCrossover. You know, be sure to follow this man's journey, man. Like I said, this is one of the best human beings that I know. This guy, he when he comes with it every time. He's honest, and he's always been a great teammate, a great person. There ain't a person I know in the basketball world that ain't got nothing bad to say about you, man. And I
I appreciate
appreciate you, the basketball world, the community, all my people. We appreciate you, and we
Thank
want
you
to tell
so
you. I
much,
want to tell
Steve.
you that now.
And I
All
appreciate
right,
you as
man.
well.
So
We gotta do it. We're gonna have to do a part 2, bro.
we're gonna do a part 2 this time, but the next time we do a part 2, I'm gonna have some special guests with us, and I
All
think
right,
that's gonna be dope because it's gonna be the best. It's gonna be the best of both worlds. It's gonna have everybody in there, man. I'm gonna get a hip hop person. I need to get because we gotta hit everything on this one, man. We gotta get a full circle on there
yes,
and
sir.
everything. All right, man. So before we get out of here, once again, be sure to like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, See Hendo. Be sure to follow Jamal at @JCrossover. Be sure to follow everything that he's doing and support, man. Just a simple retweet, whatever he posts, retweet it, man, because you never know that one thing can impact the next person. So Jamal, I appreciate you, man. You know you're my dog. We definitely gonna keep in touch as usual.
So,
You're a great man, and remain blessed, G.
you as well. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you for real. Thanks, Steve.
All right, man. All right.